Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Letters of Swami Vivekananda. Arise, awake, onward. I only tell you this, that whoever reads this letter will imbibe my spirit. Have faith, onward. Swami Vivekananda. Letter number 220, returned to Srimati Mrinalini Bose, continued. But all these things are done by people guided like lifeless machines. There is no mental activity, no unfoldment of the heart, no vibration of life, no flux of hope. There is no strong stimulation of the will, no experience of keen pleasure, nor the contact of intense sorrow. There is no stir of inventive genius, no desire for novelty, no appreciation of new things. Clouds never pass away from this mind. The radiant picture of the morning sun never charms this heart. It never even occurs to this mind if there is any better state than this. Where it does, it cannot convince. In the event of conviction, effort is lacking, and even where there is effort, lack of enthusiasm kills it out. If living by rule alone ensures excellence, if it be virtue strictly to follow the rules and customs handed down through generations, say, then who is more virtuous than a tree? Who is a greater devotee, a holier saint than a railway train? Who has ever seen a piece of stone transgress a natural law? Who has ever known cattle to commit sin? The huge steamer, the mighty railway engine, they are non-intelligent. They move, turn and run, but they are without intelligence. And yonder tiny worm, which moved away from the railway line to save its life, why is it intelligent? There is no manifestation of will in the machine. The machine never wishes to transgress law. The worm wants to oppose law, rises against law, whether it succeeds or not. Therefore, it is intelligent. Greater is the happiness, higher is the jiva, in proportion as this will is more successfully manifest. The will of God is perfectly fruitful, therefore He is the highest. What is education? Is it book learning? No. Is it diverse knowledge? Not even that. The training by which the current and expression of will are brought under control and become fruitful is called education. Now consider, is that education as a result of which the will, being continuously choked by force through generations, is well nigh killed out? Is that education under whose sway even the old ideas, let alone the new ones, are disappearing one by one? Is that education which is slowly making man a machine? It is more blessed, in my opinion, even to go wrong impelled by one's free will and intelligence than to be good as an automaton. Again, can that be called society, which is formed by an aggregate of men who are like lumps of clay, like lifeless machines, like heaped up pebbles? How can such a society fare well? Were good possible, then instead of being slaves for hundreds of years, we would have been the greatest nation on earth. And this soil of India, instead of being a mine of stupidity, would have been the eternal fountainhead of learning. Is not self-sacrifice then a virtue? Is it not the most virtuous deed to sacrifice the happiness of one, the welfare of one, for the sake of the many? Exactly. But as the Bengali adage goes, can beauty be manufactured by rubbing and scrubbing? Can love be generated by effort and compulsion? What glory is there in the renunciation of an eternal beggar? What virtue is there in the What virtue is there in the sense control of one devoid of sense power? What again is the self-sacrifice of one devoid of idea, devoid of heart, devoid of high ambition, and devoid of the conception of what constitutes society? What expression of devotedness to a husband is there by forcing a widow to commit sati? Why make people do virtuous deeds by teaching superstitions? I say, liberate, undo the shackles of people as much as you can. Can dirt be washed by dirt? Can bondage be removed by bondage? Where is the instance? When you would be able to sacrifice all desire for happiness for the sake of society, then you would be the Buddha. Then you would be free. That is far off. Again, do you think the way to it lies through oppression? Oh, what example of self-denial are our widows! Oh, how sweet is child marriage! Is another such custom possible? Can there be anything but love between husband and wife in such a marriage? Such is the wine going round nowadays. But as to the men, the masters of the situation, there is no need of self-denial for them. Is there a virtue higher than serving others? But the same does not apply to Brahmins. You others do it. The truth is that in this country, parents and relatives can ruthlessly sacrifice the best interests of their children and others for their own selfish ends, to save themselves by a compromise to society, and the teaching of generations rendering the mind callous has made it perfectly easy. He, the brave, alone can deny self. The coward, afraid of the lash, with one hand wipes his eyes and gives with the other. Of what avail such gifts? It is a far cry to love universal. The young plant should be hedged in and taken care of. One can hope to gradually attain to universal love if one can learn to love one object unselfishly. If devotion to one particular Ishtadeva is attained, devotion to the universal Virat is gradually possible. Therefore, when one has been able to deny self for an individual, one should talk of self-sacrifice for the sake of society, not before. It is action with desire that leads to action without desire. Is the renunciation of desire possible if desires did not exist in the beginning? And what could it mean? Can light have any meaning if there is no darkness? Worship with desire, with attachment comes first. Commence with the worship of the little, then the greater will come of itself. Mother, be not anxious. It is against the big tree that the great wind strikes. Poking a fire makes it burn better. A snake struck on the head raises its hood, and so on. When there comes affliction in the heart, when the storm of sorrow blows all around, and it seems light will be seen no more, when hope and courage are almost gone, it is then in the midst of this great spiritual tempest that the light of Brahman within gleams. Brought up in the lap of luxury, lying on a bed of roses, and never shedding a tear, who has ever become great? Who has ever unfolded the Brahman within? Why do you fear to weep? Weep! Weeping clears the eyes and brings about intuition. Then the vision of diversity, man, animal, trees, slowly melting away, makes room for the infinite realization of Brahman everywhere and in everything. Then, samam pashyan hi sarvatra samavasthitamishwaram nahinastyatmanatmanam tato yati param gatim. Verily, seeing the same God equally existent everywhere, he does not injure the self by the self, and so goes to the supreme goal. Ever your well-wisher Vivekananda, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.